So how did you? So I mean, you got started on EnigMarch, or do you run EnigMarch? Or I'm not too sure. You told me, and then I forgot because I'm an
It's
old
okay.
man. So you must
Yeah, it's
forgive me.
fine. Yeah, so basically, I'm Ossandra White. I am part of the Escape This Podcast community. So that's how I
Oh,
got
cool.
into EnigMarch. There's Sarah Wilson, I believe.
Oh, Sarah Wilson.
Yes, she
Oh,
kind of started EnigMarch, and there were a couple of us in the Escape This Podcast community who helped her out. So we kind of joined in and we had our meeting because, believe it or not, the year is like almost over. And March is like the third of month. So we better hurry up and start doing stuff.
understood.
Last year, yeah, it was such a rush because we had hardly anything like planned before the month. So it was a surprise to us that it went as smoothly as it did.
Oh,
But
that's
we're
good.
trying to do better at this time. We took a lot of surveys from the community and stuff like that. So people did want like maybe tips and pointers from experienced puzzle makers so that like those people who think I can't make a puzzle or I don't know how to make a puzzle, like they can get advice from the greats and figure out that hey, anybody can make a puzzle.
And they can even get advice from people who aren't the greats like me. You know, the funny thing is I remember Sarah. I love Sarah; she's amazing. And I remember telling me that she probably started this, and then I forgot.
Yeah.
And so it's like, oh, right, right, she's in charge of this one. Okay, that makes more sense. Yes, yes. And I guess there's a number of Escape This Podcast community that thought it'd be great to get involved in creating puzzles. So that's cool. Okay. Okay. Hello, Ossandra. My name is Errol. I'm from Toronto in Canada, and I like to create puzzles, and I like to talk about puzzle design and puzzle design theory. And I guess a lot of people are familiar with me if they're in the escape room community somewhat, and they may be familiar with me if they have done the cryptex hunt. So I help run that as well. And, that's about it, though. So I guess most people know me because I know all sorts of important people. That's really it. Just like I like talking to lots of people. And I know a lot of people that are in the puzzle hunt and escape room community. And then I like to hear all sorts of interesting, fun stories about design and escape rooms. So as you can tell, I like to talk to people. So that's
Of course.
probably more so why people might know me because I've talked to them.
Makes sense. What is your favorite type of puzzle?
Oh, this is hard. Although I would have to say my favorite, I guess good ones. So, it's hard to say, ones that I haven't seen and that are unique and cleverly crafted and elegant, but that doesn't really mean anything. I'm not really good at word puzzles. So I'm not saying that those are bad, but I'm just not very good at them. But I do like cryptic crosswords, but I'm not very good at those. When I tend to create puzzles, they don't tend to be in around numbers or words. They usually tend to be more visual because I think I like those as well. So yeah, it's just good puzzles that are well crafted. That's what I like, and that have a wonderful aha to it. But I think also one of the reasons I like escape rooms is because it brings with it more so than just the puzzles, but a whole experience with it, right? So I like that journey that comes with it. The experiential moments that you get when you read a narrative or when you play an escape room. I do like those wow moments that you have when you play those, and that can happen too in a puzzle hunt too, but it's usually still more cerebral. So I like things where, it encompasses all sorts of visceral emotions.
Yeah, like the story along with the puzzles and the
Hmm.
whole
Hmm.
experience, as you said.
Hmm.
Yeah. When did you start puzzle making?
Oh, so I don't know. I think the first official puzzle hunt that I did that people saw was in 2015. I think it was 2015. Should look that up. Anyway, it was around there. And I had made puzzles before, but I released them in areas that weren't puzzle community related, right? I think where was I? I was like on some forum for some browser internet game. It was a very niche thing. There's like, 12 people on it. And I thought, hey, I'm gonna make a puzzle hunt for these people. And I make these puzzles, and people got mad at me because I wasn't good at making puzzles. And the first one was too hard. They didn't like that at all. And then I thought, oh, look, I'm gonna do the same thing. And I made some puzzles. I was part of Lego brick filming. So I used to like doing that a long time ago, and thought, I'm gonna go and make some puzzles for them too. Yeah, nobody liked that at all either, because again, it was too hard. And so, I would do these things on different forums I was on, and then I released it I was part of a little nerd band at one point in time, and I released it there. Wait, was it that one that got? Can't remember. Oh, no, 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 it wasn't there. That was like part one of that. And then I kind of like rejigged it and then released it when I started getting to escape rooms. And for some reason, it got on Dan Egner's puzzle hunt calendar. I don't know how it got on there. I didn't put it there. I didn't even know the puzzle community existed, but it got on there. And then all of a sudden, people were signing up to do this puzzle hunt. I'm going, I was expecting literally the same thing that has been happening my whole life. Like 12 people would attempt it. They wouldn't like it and would get mad at me. And then that was about it. But no, all of a sudden these people were doing my puzzle hunt. And then I had like, 100 teams sign up. And I was going, who are you people? Why are you on my website? I was so confused. And I was also shocked at how quickly they were solving my puzzles. Because as I said before, anything I released, nobody would solve it very quickly. And then all of a sudden these people were like banging out answers like mad. And I was like, who are you? How can you solve these things so quickly? It was pretty impressive and amazing. And that's my introduction to the puzzle hunt community. And then I stayed, and it was really fun.
That's really cool to pay attention to how some people would think it's too hard, but once you take it to the puzzle people,
Oh yeah.
they knew it
Oh
easily.
yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
No, now my biggest problem is that sometimes, actually lately, I've been creating some puzzles more for the mainstream, and it's so hard to make puzzles still interesting. Well, interesting in my mind, and easy. Because when you create difficult or challenging puzzles, you rely a lot on the experience of the player. And a lot of the puzzle hunt people already know the basics, whether it just be like super simple basics like indexing, or even all of the different ciphers and codes, right? But nobody else knows those. And so it's just so hard just trying to make it accessible for someone who has never done puzzles before. Yeah.
Yeah. So what would your advice be to somebody who's worried about making it too hard or too easy?
Oh, don't worry about making it too easy. It's always going to be too hard. It's going to be too hard. It will be too hard. Unless, it's just something like, what is this? It's a ball. Oh, okay. Well, that's great. No, it's there. It's the most important thing about creating a puzzle is in the end beta testing it and making sure and seeing how people are solving it, and then listening to where they are getting stuck and why they're getting stuck. Because something that is super clear in your head and makes complete sense is not the same for another player. And it's really important to see where that lies when you're creating those puzzles. Because a lot of the time, you aren't trying to find people who can solve your puzzles. Not when you're beta testing. You're trying to find people who can't and why they can't solve your puzzles. And then you'll learn a lot from that. You'll learn a lot from why these people can't solve your puzzles. Now, there are those people that can't solve puzzles because they're not good at puzzles. And it's just going to be difficult for you to discern, can they not solve it because they're not good at it? Or can they not solve it because I made a mistake and I am bad at puzzle design, right? So it is just, so it's really good to just find people that, oh yeah, find people who can talk while they're puzzle solving, and then we'll tell you, because sometimes you'll ask, what was this like? Did you like it? It's like, yeah, it was good, right? But no, you didn't see the process, and so you don't know where they had problems. And if they're able to verbalize and complain, just like, oh, how am I supposed to know this? Oh, this was the answer I thought it was going to be. And if you made the puzzle and you made it so ambiguous that somebody could go down one route and it looked like the puzzle was leading you that way, and then they stopped and halted and were stuck there, then you probably should do something to fix it. So you lead the player in the right direction while they're doing the puzzle. So yeah, I'm talking an awful lot, but beta testing is very important. And also doing lots of puzzles, just creating them. A lot of people are always worried. It's like, I don't know, it's hard to create puzzles. Well, just keep making them and keep playing them and keep making them. And the more you make, the more familiar you'll get with making puzzles. But then again, just seeing people play them is very important, because you will have to understand how people don't think like you. As I said before, I'm not good at word manipulation that much, and so sometimes somebody will give one to me and I'm going like, I'm lost, can't figure it out, right? And sometimes it's my fault and sometimes it's not. So it's really good to at least understand that people don't think like you and might need more guidance. And it also is important to know who the audience is when you're creating these puzzles. Like, I have a different mindset when I create puzzles for the mainstream audience than if I were to create puzzles for the Cryptex Hunt, for example. So there's just a lot of, oh wow, that's just not one thing I've just been telling you now, right? It's like a whole slew of things I'm talking about. But yes, yeah, beta testing is important, and doing lots of puzzles, and creating a lot of puzzles just to get more used to it and getting the experience, and that your puzzles will always be too hard, because it's so hard making it easy.
Yeah, very good advice. I know it's went a lot of everywhere, but it was all relevant, very relevant. I could understand what you were saying.
Oh, that's
Like,
good.
Beta testing, and then making sure that that it's not always going to be your fault why people can't solve it, but it is also important to get that thought process of others, because not everybody does think like you. So it's great to observe that. And like you said, watching them as they're solving it, or having somebody who can walk you through what they were thinking at each point, I can see where that will be very helpful. So you, as a puzzle maker, you could be like, oh yes, that's what I wanted you to think. Or you'll be like, what? I never thought anybody would think that. Okay, I have to tweak something.
Yes, that is very true. I remember I made a puzzle, and I did a video for Recon. I don't know if you're familiar. I mean, if you know Sarah, then you probably know Recon and Room Escape Artist, right? And I did a video for them for 2 years ago, and and one of the things I did is I showed a puzzle that I created, and I wanted the people to focus on the colors, but they focused on the words instead. And I was just like, oh right, I guess you could do that. Oh no, what am I going to do, right? And I just didn't see that, and it was good. I watched someone actually do a Twitch stream of it, and then when I saw them play it and run into this problem, it's like, oh crumbs, and now it's on Twitch. And everybody can see the problem. But it was good. It was good to, I mean, I think Twitch streamers are great, because they always have to talk about what they're thinking about while they're playing it, right? They're like reacting to things, and so you can hear their thought process and you can see how they're reacting. And it's good and important to know how they're reacting, because if they're frustrated throughout the whole thing and they don't get released from that frustration, and it just builds and builds, and in the end they hate you, then maybe you should do something about that, because it's okay to be frustrated and then solve it and then just scream into light, right? Because you fixed the player fixed their own frustration because they solved it. But if they didn't, then then maybe you should see about how to better the experience for them.
Yeah. And as a Twitch streamer myself, I totally do get that as well. I tried to play some puzzle games back in September, and there was a game, it's called Railbound. I don't know if it was just that I was streaming late at night. But one puzzle, I was just like, I cannot get it. I don't think I went back to it, but I was like, this is weird. I should go back to it on a day where it's early and I'm able to like actually concentrate. But I could tell like I was like, I don't want to turn the stream off until I finish it, but I can't. But yeah, I totally get that as well. And it's good to see the process. Like you said, during the Twitch stream, that's a great thing. And even though it's being aired everywhere, it's a learning experience for you.
And they also, because there were a lot of people watching, they were trying to give their suggestions, and then
In
you
the
could
chat.
see what their suggestions are. It's like, oh, that's a good suggestion, but you're still going the wrong track, so you're not going to do anything right now. I gotta fix this.
Yeah. All right. Next question is, where can people see your work? I think you already talked a little bit about that.
Yeah, the cryptexhunt.com is probably where you can see a lot of my work. A lot of the things that I do tend to be private, so you won't be able to because I first off, I'm not a contractor for puzzle design. I actually only create puzzles for myself and then for friends. And so that's about it. A friend asks me and I know them well and say, hey, can you make some puzzles for me? I'll say, sure, I'll make you some puzzles. That might kind of be fun. It depends on what projects I'm working on at the time, but usually I'll say yes if I have time, when I shouldn't say yes because I don't have time. So a lot of those tend to be ones that nobody sees, except the Cryptex Hunt is probably a public one. I have written some puzzles for Kellyanne and Brian of Green Door Labs, Club Drosselmeyer that's in Boston. So some people have seen my puzzles there. And then sometimes I just sprinkle them around the community. Oh, right. I also made them. I also help out with the ARG there for Recon. So I have done some of the puzzles there. So you can find them somewhere. But as I said, Cryptex Hunt is probably one where it's more easily accessible by someone who doesn't know me. I only make puzzles for my friends. Really, that's just it. Sometimes I'm shocked when I find that people have made or played any of my puzzles because, you know, as I said, a lot of them tend to be private. It's like, oh, you've played that? Oh, wow, that's impressive. Okay.
Yeah. But I do know, like, a lot of people do know you in the community, but I feel like you're just helping out friends and you don't feel like you're such a like big puzzle great that's like famous. But I've heard a lot about you, and I hadn't personally really known you before now. So I was like, wow, this is a really cool epic guy. And you're just so humble.
No, not that happy. Especially though, if you go into like a lot of the, because there are a lot of people that have been doing this for years. Like I haven't been doing it for years either. I have only, you know, and because the puzzle hunt community has been around for like, oh, decades, right? And then they're also very, very intelligent. And I don't think I could reach up to those levels of like mind-bending awesomeness, because like as I said, they'll look at my puzzles, they'll solve it like 2 minutes. I'm going, how are you doing that? And it'll take me 20, and it's my own puzzle because I forgot how I did it. Sometimes some people will write me on Discord and they're saying, oh, I'm working on the Cryptex Hunt for 2020. Do you know how to solve this? And I'll look at it. No. Yeah, it was my puzzle. I forgot how I did that one. Oh no. Anyway, so yeah, I gotta, it's just because I'm an old man, I'm very forgetful. That's pretty much it. But I do what I do like doing is talking about puzzle design, because I do find that fascinating. So, you know, maybe that's also why people hear me, because I just talk a lot, and I like to talk and analyze puzzle design a lot. So yeah. And that's also another thing too. I also like putting out those articles for a lot of reasons, because especially in the escape room community, once escape rooms started up, there were a lot of beginning escape rooms that were brand new, and they're brand new to game design, they're brand new to puzzle design, and they didn't realize that there's a wealth of information and theory out there already, and they didn't have to start from scratch. and they all seem to start from scratch and do all the same mistakes over and over and over again. And it's like, look, no, you don't have to make these mistakes. And so I would write things and write articles. It's like, look, see. And then I would put references so that people like, no, I don't expect you to believe me. I'm just some guy on the internet. Look, see, there's all these other references that I've included here to let you know this is like tried and true theories that will work and maybe make your players happier, right? So anyway, I forgot what the question was. What are we talking about?
No, that's great.
Are we on to why do you enjoy puzzle making? Is that what we were?
That was the next question. Yes.
Oh, okay, okay.
That's a good one though.
Yeah, I guess I kind of answered it too. Sorry, you were saying?
No, I'm saying sharing your wealth of knowledge is good. Even if you aren't necessarily known for your puzzles, like you said, you just kind of make them for friends, which I still do know. A lot of people do know your puzzles though. But you are also known for your advice, and that's great.
Yeah, you also know Sarah, and Sarah also helps out in the Cryptex hunt, so that's probably why you know about the puzzles I make. So I take it you're also going to interview Bill and Danny if they get a chance. It's hard because they're like clear across the world, so trying to find a time with them.
I usually do like late at night. Like I've been on Escape This Podcast before, and then I did also stream with Bill. We played games, but I was like, it's getting so late, and he's like, oh, it's afternoon. I'm like, I need to go to sleep. So yeah, it's fun. Australia, that's fun. But yeah, why do you enjoy puzzle making? I know you talked a little bit about it, but
I think there's a lot of reasons. I do like coming up with different ways to hide the type of puzzles that I like to create tend to be things hidden in something you wouldn't expect them to be hidden in, and that's what I like to do. And so I like to find different ways to do that, especially for my puzzles. But then also I really enjoy it when people solve my puzzles. I actually don't like it when people are having a really hard time solving my puzzles, even though a lot of people sometimes have a hard time solving my puzzles, and it just might be because I didn't beta test it well enough. I do really enjoy it when people are excited that they solved a puzzle and it gave them, I have had people tell me it's just like, and then when I solved it, it was like amazing and I was so happy, right? And they got that high, they wanted to fist bump the universe, and everything were blossoms of unicorns because they were able to solve the puzzle, right? And I like that. I like seeing people get that flash of inspiration, and then they go, and they got it, and that is an enjoyable thing. So it's fun watching people solve puzzles, right? That doesn't happen as much when I do any online ones, but when I do my online ones, but when I used to do ones that were more in real life and I were able to watch that, then it was good to see.
Yeah, I think like Bill and Danny, we talked about it one time. It's like nobody really wants to be like, yes, you're stuck in my escape room. You never got out. It's like people want you to be able to solve it. They don't want you to be able to solve it in 2 seconds, but they still want you to be able to solve it because it's gratifying to see that it was a bit challenging, but you overcame it and you're happy. And not just like, I was frustrated the whole time, I could not solve anything. And it's like, yes, like nobody's like that. I mean, not that I know of. Nobody's like that. I hope they're not like that. But yeah, that was a great analogy of like seeing them get that epiphany, like especially in person. It is harder to see it online, but when people tell you like their process, it is quite gratifying. So how do you go about the puzzle making process? I think you talked a little bit about this as well.
It depends. So it all depends on in what capacity I'm making the puzzles for. So for example, if I'm creating an event that will have puzzles, or right, if there's more of a narrative aspect to the puzzles, then there's a lot more that goes into creating them. I actually leave the puzzle design aspect for last. Sorry, the actual mechanics of the puzzle for last, because usually the theme and what we plan on doing or whatever will help guide and give us boundaries on what the puzzles are going to be. But if it's just like one-offs, then it's just like, I'll just go ahead and make the puzzle. It's Christmas themed. Okay, I'll try and figure something out, and just go around, search on the internet, see something like, someone asked a friend of mine, Matt Louis, was asking if I could help towards his, what was it, like an Advent Christmas thingy? I don't even know. I just said yes. So, right, but it was kind of Christmas card themed. So I went and started searching around for Christmas cards, old vintage ones. Different, they didn't have to be, but I started from there, and I would get inspirations from there. It's like, how can I hide a puzzle in this? That's what I'll do. It's just like, how can I hide a puzzle in this? And then if it is something that's like a more larger event or one that I'm creating, then usually there will be a meta to it. And so I always, after I figure out the theme and the mechanics of how the whole event is structured, then the very first thing that comes next will be the very first things that will come first is me actually figuring out what resources I have available to me, right? So if it's a large event, I'll have a large document, a Google Doc, find out the people who will be able to help me, what resources are available to me, how much time that I have, what my budget is, if I have a budget, right? And I'll put that all together in a doc. I actually hate being the showrunner or the producer for these things because it's so much work. I prefer just say, hey, Errol, I need some puzzles for this. Like, okay, yeah, I'll do that, right? So as I said before, another reason why I like working for Kelly and is because she did all that. And she just said, this is the theme. This is what we need. And I was like, okay, I can do that. I don't have to think about anything else. Right. Because the next comes the meta puzzle. And the meta puzzle is also hard to come up with. I remember for the Cryptex Hunt, I'm telling my group of designers, and I think there's like 6 of them. So, okay, before we can ask any other volunteers to help out so that we can give them an idea of what to make and build towards, because usually with a meta puzzle, we'll give them an answer ahead of time. We need a meta puzzle. Who wants to work on one? Silence, crickets, tumbleweeds. Nobody wants to work on the meta puzzles. Like, oh, don't make me do it again. It's so hard. Anyway, that has to go next. So I don't know if that helps with the puzzle making process. Yeah. Hopefully that made sense.
Yeah, that did make sense. That made a lot of sense.
Oh,
Yeah.
good. I'm just rambling because you gave me these questions ahead of time. Did I prep for them? No.
It's fine. No, like I said, I want it to be as open-ended as possible. And just getting all this knowledge, of course, I could cut and splice and put it together. But don't hold back. This is all very useful information. I guess it'll just be any advice for new puzzle makers?
I would say probably similar to what I said before is don't be scared about creating puzzles. Don't be ashamed about creating puzzles. And even if your puzzles suck, everybody's puzzles sucked at the beginning, right? And really, your puzzles might suck now. I mean, my puzzles might suck now because it's mostly I'm not listening to what troubles the players are having, right? And that's the reason. If you're creating puzzles and then you're not listening to what the players are, I mean, not that you're ignoring them, it's just that you don't have exposure to these players and how they're playing it, then you can't really get any better. So creating a lot of puzzles and having people play them, and not like your mom who's like, oh, that was wonderful, dear. No, right? They have to be, of course, maybe your mom my mom wouldn't be able to solve anything. So I would never give it to my mom, nor would she say it was wonderful. She would ask me why I'm spending all this money and time on this, but that's okay. We won't talk about that. Anyway, so you don't want to just give it to friends, because also friends don't want to hurt your feelings. So if you can find someone who aren't ashamed to hurt your feelings. Although the great thing about puzzles is that, if they're going to get frustrated and they get frustrated with your puzzles, then you'll be able to see that, because, there is something about being nice, but then there's also something about being really frustrated about a dumb puzzle. So it's, I guess that would probably be one of the important things is don't be scared of being, of gaining experience, like failing, because really you can only gain experience by consistently failing and seeing how to get better. So create your puzzles, have people look at it. And if you're scared to approach someone because you think them as someone who's a really good puzzler, well, just, they might be busy, but you can still try and ask them, and they'll hopefully, and especially in this community, they can be very friendly, and they might be able to help you. And there's a number of resources out there, like, there's the puzzle discords, there's the escape room discord. I'm sure there's an EnigMarch discord. Lots of people like creating puzzles. And so, also, but at the same time, as I said before, a lot of people do get frustrated when solving puzzles, right? It's just what happens. And so they might tend to be blunt, but just don't take it too personally. I've had people hate on my puzzles so hard. And that just happens because you are also dealing with some people's ego, and then especially newer players might think to themselves, look, I can't solve this, that means I'm dumb. And it's like, well, no, it could also mean that I just didn't do it very correctly. And also, a lot of puzzle solving is mostly experience and what things you're more experienced with. And so it's not so much like people are always scared about doing an escape room with me because I don't know, they get performance anxiety. And these are my friends. I'm not talking about like other people, but like, it's like, I don't want to do an escape room with you, right? Because what if I fail? It's like, no, it doesn't matter if you fail. I'm not going to be doing anything useful because all I want to do is just play in the room. And doing an escape room is all about being experienced at escape rooms. It's not about being smart, for that matter, because the more you do, the better you'll get because you've done so many of them. So if you've only done one, it's not like, oh, you're going to, I don't know, play volleyball and you've never played volleyball before in your life, then you're going to suck really badly. But that's okay. If you continually do it, then you'll just get better. So yeah. So reach out to the community, get involved with the community. It's just like even doing NaNoWriMo, right? It's a lot more fun doing it once you start getting involved with the community, and especially with something with puzzle writing. Because like, if you're writing a novel, you can just keep it to yourself and hide it in like a closet and nobody will ever see it. But then you won't know if you're going to get any better. But with puzzles, people have to be able to solve it. And so you have to share it with people. So don't be ashamed to share it with people and get involved in the community to learn how to get better. Because there's tons of people out there that create puzzles. Oh, there's tons of documents out there. I have like a secret Puzzle Pint document that they used to give out to Puzzle Pint people. Like, here, this is a great document for getting started on how to create puzzles. And then they like lost that document, but I had a copy of it. And so there's that too. I don't know if I should publicly be saying this, right? But oh well, there you go.
I mean, yeah, but what I'm getting is experience helps, sharing helps, and not being afraid to get feedback, and also not taking feedback personally. And like
That
the
was the
escape room.
succinct version. Yes.
Yeah. But like the escape room thing, I recently did my first one, and of course, it did not get out in time, but we wanted to stay and make sure we did finally get out. And the end puzzle was very weird. I didn't know what, like, we didn't know what we were doing. We didn't know like what results, and we didn't know where to put the results. Like, but as even Bill and Danny say, every escape room is different. So, just saying, like, every puzzle is different. So just because you've done them doesn't mean you're familiar with this person's puzzles and this type of, mechanics and stuff like that. So whether solving puzzles or creating them, it's always a learning experience for everybody.
Mm-hmm. And everybody actually, you'll find, has their own different style and spin to their puzzles. I think some people eventually will get used to the type of puzzle that you make and ones that you are comfortable with, right? So I think people might recognize my puzzle style and maybe grown a bit because like, oh, this is what we're in for.
Do you have tips for seasoned puzzle makers?
Oh, seasoned puzzle makers. How on earth will I have tips for seasoned puzzle makers? Right. I remember seeing this question. Seasoned puzzle makers. Oh, I'm just... What on earth? What kind of tips would I give seasoned puzzle makers? I don't know. Uh, be kind to the newbie puzzle makers. um, mm, mhm. Um, this is not helpful, is it? I'm just going,
It's okay.
I think maybe to know. Well, see, I don't know if I'd go to. The problem is if they're seasoned puzzle and experienced puzzle makers, then they probably would know anything. I would have to say. Maybe I would have to go for intermediate. Maybe I would have to say just like the very old adage of killing your darlings, right? Just learning to know when to pull back and not include the kitchen sink and everything. So, and to always remember that the player's enjoyment is first and not your own. Maybe. I don't know, but maybe it is. Sometimes I just make puzzles for myself. So I guess there's always a rule to be broken. As long as you know the rules first, then you get to experiment with those rules, right? So it's really hard to say. I don't know what I have to uh yeah, I don't know what I have to say to a seasoned other than be kind.
Good advice.
Sometimes I think a lot of newbies might be scared, and sometimes the community can be harsh, especially when it comes to something as cerebral as a puzzle hunt community. So, you know, that just because you have an awful lot of experience doesn't mean doesn't mean that other people will, and also doesn't mean that a puzzle is bad because you couldn't solve it. I don't know. Who knows? It's hard to say. It all just depends.
Yeah. Well, that's pretty good. That was good.
That
Last
was a lot of
was
me going,
it rounded out greatly with the being kind. That's good. Um, Lastly, because I don't want to keep you too long because you have something at 7:30,
Yeah,
so
that's my fault, though.
it's fine. What would you say to a person who doesn't think they can make a puzzle of their own?
I say try and make puzzles with other people then. And then once you get that confidence, then you can make puzzles on your own, right? If you want to create making puzzles, then just start doing it. And if you're scared, then just start making puzzles just with other people. But it can also, another thing too is that, like, one of the things I started doing is I made puzzles for my children, and obviously they couldn't be complicated or difficult. They were just very simple. And it was just like I would do Easter egg hunts, but I had to make sure the structure of going from one egg to another and not breaking that structure by having one accidentally be closed off and not realizing I might have put the answer to this puzzle, I hid inside itself. Oh no, that's not smart, right? So even just getting used to creating puzzles. So I would say just do it. If you really want to make puzzles, there's a lot of resources out there. Just make these puzzles, and if you're still nervous about it, then just join up with other people to make puzzles. There's a lot of people out there that are looking for puzzles. Hey, can anybody want to make some puzzles with me? Right? Or just share it, right? A lot of people on the Discord, it's like, hey, I made this puzzle. What do you all think? And they'll share it on the Discord. They'll share it somewhere. And then, so if you want true feedback, you'll get it. So especially on something as anonymous as Discord, then you might get the harsher feedback than you want. So again, just not to take things personally, but if you want to have a buffer and not be just, team up with someone, do some collaborations. Collaborations are fun.
Yeah, that's a great thing. That's a great angle to look at because I don't think we went that route with last EnigMarch. I don't know if anybody teamed up to make team puzzles besides, of course, we made some like team puzzles for the website and stuff like that. But that's interesting idea to start your own little EnigMarch puzzle groups.
Yeah, I
And
know that. So for the cryptex hunt of a year ago, was it? I can't remember. Manda Whitney, wanted to help out with some of the puzzles, and Dan Egner also wanted to help out. And so Manda was in charge of narrative and Dan was in charge of puzzles, and they teamed up together. But as they were doing it, I think Manda was able to throw in like, oh, I think I came up with a puzzle, right? So just being even in that environment and having the structure of that narrative that she already wrote out, she was able to start to see where a puzzle can fit in. So, having someone there just to, get the puzzle juices flowing and get that environment where you're just thinking about puzzles all the time, sometimes they'll naturally fit in. She always says to me, I don't know how to make a puzzle. Yes, you do. It's like, no, I don't. No. The thing you're worried about is that you are scared about making a puzzle that's good enough for me. And I was like, oh, that's like an amazing puzzle. But you don't have to live up to my expectations, because I'm the only one that lives up to my expectations. You could throw out a thing, make it Morse code. That's a puzzle. But you don't want to do that because you're scared like, oh, that's just a boring Morse code puzzle. But it's still a puzzle. So you've made one, right? You don't have to go for super amazing, exciting puzzle at the very beginning. You have to start somewhere. So anyway, there's me lecturing poor Man Pants on puzzle design, because she was like, when it comes to puzzle design, she's just unsure of herself. It's like, no, you don't have to shoot for the moon every single time. Just start.
Yes, that's what I always say. Just do it. You don't have to make it perfect. If you don't start, if you wait for something to be perfect, you'll probably never do it. So that is great advice.
And that's probably why I mentioned before, just start making it for kids, because when she made a little puzzle hunt for her nieces, she couldn't go super wild. It has to be simple, but she did, and the kids enjoyed it, right? The children really enjoyed it. So that's a good way of restricting yourself from going too wild, is like, just make some puzzle hunts for someone like that.
All right. So thank you so much again for allowing me to interview you.
Thanks for talking to me, Ossandra. Who else do you have coming up next? Because that's exciting.
I have Brett.
Oh, Brett Keener. Brett Keener's great. I like Brett Keener. He's very smart. See, there you go. When you start getting into puzzle greats, Brett Keener is like involved in so many things. He just knows mechanical puzzles. He knows immersive games. He makes puzzles for Netflix, right? So there you go. You could just tell Brett Keener that he's amazing, because Errol said so.
All right.
Yeah, Brett Keener's a good guy. I like Brett. He's very thoughtful. He's very smart. And who's after that? Sorry.
Yeah, so I will interview Sarah as well, even though she's part of it. And then Bill and Danny.
Oh, nice.
That's one for each week of February.
Oh,
I mean, well, Bill and Danny are both together, but mainly Danny. She's the main one that does the puzzles, but we're not going to leave Bill out.
No. Don't leave Bill out.